this is Wasim. Welcome back to my channel Wagon Pix. Hope you are all doing great. I'm happy to be with you all again on this platform again with an interesting topic. So today's topic is useMemo. useMemo is a kind of hook which is used in React application. So useMemo is majorly used for optimization purpose in the React application. When I say optimization, it means to increase the efficiency, to reduce the lag. So for that purpose we use memo. So we will take an practical example to understand the concept. So before starting, let us go through the points which we'll be covering in this tutorial. The first point which we'll be covering is what is component rendering. So we have seen this topic earlier in our previous tutorial, but we need to go through this again because without understanding component rendering, you will not be able to understand use memo concept. Second point which we will be learning is need of use memo. Why do we need use memo? Third point which we'll be covering is we'll see a live example, practical example of usage of use memo. Okay, so let's get started and start with the first point, that is component rendering. For that I already have this base file. For those who don't know how to create a base file, how to create a React app, I would request you to go through my previous videos where I have already explained how to create a base file. So I will not create from scratch. So the basic base component is ready. That is, I have written a dummy content and that is reflecting over here. Okay, so now I will quickly create a new file, new component called app.js. First line is import React library. Second is defining the function. The name of the function is app. Inside this we need to define a return. Export. Default app. Okay, now quickly see. Okay. I will enter some dummy content and let us try to import this app into index.js base file. Okay, so this will be our parent and this will be our child. So I will go to the next line on and in this. Okay, so I have included this component, but I need to define the path for this component as well. And to define the path, Visual Studio Code Editor provides us a shortcut. So if you want to provide a path, no need to go and type manually over here, import and all. So for this you can come here and click at the end of the component name and here click control space. So it gives you all the available path for app component, and once you click on this, the path will be automatically inserted in the component. So here we have hello from the parent and app hi from the child component. So we have got both the content. So the basic structure is ready. Now let us go ahead and check the component rendering topic. To check the component rendering topic, we will remove these dummy content. I'll remove this as well. And first I will format the document. Always remember to format the document because it makes your code cleaner. It looks clean and you will be able to understand the start and end of the divisions. To understand the component rendering, let us create a text input field in this app component, that is input. What do I mean by text input field? This will create a field in which user can enter some data. So in our case, let us create a field. So when a user, I will quickly show you how this looks. See here, this is the input field. I am entering some data, so it will be reflected into the field. So now what I have to do is, whenever I type any data, I have to pass the data or store this data into a variable. For that, I will call a function on change. Let us name the function as display name. Define the function. So this is an arrow function which we have defined. So in this we need to pass an event. So when I call this function, I need to store the input characters into a variable. So in our case, we will use useState, and we'll store that entering characters into a state variable. For those who don't know useState, I would request you to go through my previous videos. I have covered a specific tutorial related to useState. You will understand what exactly useState is. So in this we will use useState. So for useState, we will come here and define a, let us name the state as name, and I will set with name. The initial value of name will be null. So this is the syntax for useState. Let me quickly explain you. Name is the variable in which we will be storing data, and set name is used to set the value in name, and initial value of this name will be null. Okay, so when I enter any characters, this function will be called, and when we are inside this function, the first thing I will do is I will set the entering character to this name. Okay, how will I do that? I will just event dot target dot value. So for confirmation purpose, I will just print the value of name into console. So here we have field. I will go into inspect element, and inspect element I will go into console. So when I enter any value, you see that whatever data I'm entering, it is reflecting in console. So this is good to go ahead with. And let us also define a placeholder. Placeholder is something when we don't have any data into the field, by default it will show enter name. Now to understand the concept of component rendering, on component mount, when this component is mounted, at that time each and every line will be executed. On change, whenever I enter any characters in the field, this specific function will be called. We are clear till here. But what happens outside the function, like once the component is mounted and we are entering characters, but what happens exactly outside the function? So let me will remove this console and I will just print a check. Okay, so we see that check is printed. So this console got printed at the time of component mount, the check got printed. And now when I type any value, see here, I typed V and the check got printed. I type a VA, the check got printed. On every type of the character, the check is printing. So what this states is, whenever I am entering any data for each character, the state is getting updated. And every time when the name is getting updated, the component is rendering. What that means, rendering is every steps is executing again. So that means on every state change, this console will be printed. So that is what we call component re-rendering. Okay, instead of this, if we had any other function or any kind of other task, that also would have been executed. So now we are clear with this topic, how a component rendering works. So the next topic is need of use memo. Okay, so till now, till this point we are clear. And now let us try to print the name which we are entering into the text field. I will quickly define a paragraph. Name is, so name is stored in name, so I will store it. So how this looks, so whatever data I'm entering into the text field, that will be reflected over here. Okay, so now till this point we are clear. We will format the document. Okay, till this point we are clear. Now let us go ahead and create a button to understand the need of use memo. Okay, button, and name this button as increment counter. So on click of this button, I will call a function called increment count. So I need to define the function. So for that I will come here and this I need to increment a value. To increment, we need to define again a state, because we need to store a value in a state variable. So let us define the name of the state as count, and how to set use state. Initial value of the state is 0. Sorry, set count. So initial value of this count will be 0. So when I click on this button, the increment count value function will be called. And in this function, what I will do is I will set the value of count, that is increase this to 1. And let us try to print this count value below this button value. see here. So when I click on this 3, so whenever I'm clicking, the count value is increasing. So now till this point we are clear. Okay, so let us add one more function to this count. So I need to add one more parameter over here. The count which I am displaying is even or add. Okay, for that what I will do is I will come below this line. I will just type, okay, and in this I will call a function find type. Okay, and if that function, sorry, now this function will return true if this value is even. If this is true, then I will print even, else this will print odd. So now I have to define this function. I will come over here, constant, so in this function what we'll do is we'll return the true and false depending upon the value of count. So count, we all know that modulus of any number, if that is 0, then that number is even. So count modulus 2, if this is equal to 0, then return true, else this will be false. So now we will see find tab is not defined. So here we have increment counter. When I click on this, the count value increased to 1. When this becomes 2, this is reflecting even, and again 3 for odd, 4 even. So this is working fine, and the upper the function is also working fine. Now let us see why do we need useMemo. Okay, so till this point we are all clear, and we have seen that we are calling a function display name on change of this character, and we are calling this increment count on click of this button. So two functions, independent functions. So this section is entirely different and this section is entirely different. There is nothing to dependency on each of the sections. Okay, so now let us go into this function. So in real life applications where we have huge applications where when we call a function, there will be a lot of stuff to execute, and there might be a API calling, and there might be some other functions which will take time. So in that case there will be a lag in the function execution. So we will create a dummy lag over here in this function. What we'll do is we will add a delay. So how will we do that? 0, I will just write a while just taken some random delay. Okay, so what is happening is when I'm clicking on this button, the reflection is getting delayed. So on call of this function, I am delaying the return value, that is the even and odd reflect printing is delayed. So let us see. Okay, now the value is 0 and this even. Okay, I need to delay it further. Then I'm not adding more zeros because sometime it lags, it hangs. So this was the reason. See, cool. So there is some delay when I click on this. See, after some time, the value is getting printed. So now we are clear. So what we did was we entered some delay in this find type function. Okay, so we have not done anything in display name function, right? But when I type something in this, earlier we saw that whenever I type, the name will be reflected. So I'm typing name, the name is getting reflected late. Did you see that? So when I type a, so the component is rendering, but the name next character is displaying late. I'm typing on keyboard, but the name is reflecting late. So what is happening is the delay which we have implemented in find type function is impacting this function as well. So why that is happening is uh, whenever I'm entering any value in this input field, so this function will be called. Okay, so when this function is called, set name, this state is getting updated. So whenever the state is getting updated, the entire component is rendering. We have seen this earlier, that whenever any state change, the entire component renders. So while rendering, all the steps are executed. In that case, the step number 29, that find type, this is also called, this function is also called, and there is a delay which occurs in this function. Because of this delay, the final update is getting delayed. So we somehow we need to avoid this function call. Okay, even if we call this function, we should not we should avoid this delay. So how can we do that? For this we use useMemo. To understand the concept of useMemo, let us take a real life example. Suppose you own a ice cream parlor, and majority of your customer who comes to your shop order chocolate flavored ice cream. So next time when you come to your shop, you know that majority of customers are uh, asking you chocolate flavored ice cream. So what you will do is, you will, when you open your shop, you create lot of chocolate flavored ice cream and keep it in your freezer. So whenever next time a request comes for chocolate flavored ice cream, you will take a scoop from your freezer and you will give it to your customer. Okay, similarly, let us take this find type function as a request. Okay, so whenever a request comes in, I will, the return value is the chocolate flavored ice cream. Okay, so I will not go through all these steps. What I will do, at the time of component mount, I will find the return value and store it into a store. Okay, so this is our function. Okay, during the time of mount, so during the time of mount, what I will do is, I will, sorry, I'm not that good with the diagrams. I will store the value, return value into the memory. Okay, so whenever a request comes, okay, whenever a request comes to this function, I will not go through these steps into this, because I already have the store value. So what I will do is, I will just return this value to the request. So every time the request comes, I will just return the store value. With this, what happens is, I will reduce the efforts to go through the points. Okay, so the catch comes when I want, if the count value changes, the return value will change. So in that case, we need to go through all the steps. So use memo is something which takes this function, okay, and also we need to provide a condition for this. So let us know, I hope you got the point why we use memo. If we know already the return what the function is going to return, then why to go through all the steps again? We can store the value, and every time the request comes we can return the value. But there is a dependency, because if the count change, the return value will change. So for that we need to take care to go through all the steps. So use memo comes into picture. So what I will do is use use memo. Use memo takes this function as first parameter. I will just cut and paste it over here, and next second parameter is the condition, because I want to tell the use memo that if this change, only and only if this change, go through all the steps, else just pick the value which is stored into the store value and send return it back. Okay, so here I will assign the return of this use memo to find type, and I will come down. I will remove the function call because I am storing the value in find type. So let us quickly come and see how this is working. Now when I type, did you see that there is no lag? When I enter any characters, the characters are reflecting without any delay, but there is delay in increment counter. Okay, see, there is a delay. So this is how use memo works. To go through the to briefly go through the topic again, what is happening is, when I am calling this function, find type function, when I am calling this function, you I have defined this into use memo. What use memo does is, it checks the value of count. If the value of count has changed, then it goes through all the steps. Otherwise it will just pick the value which is stored into the store, and it will return that value. Okay, so this is how use memo works. Let me know if you have any kind of questions or concern. This is a little bit tough topic to understand if you don't understand the rendering concept. So you need to thoroughly understand how the component renders, and then we can go through use memo. Okay, so thank you so much for being with me on this tutorial, and do let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.